All right, it is 12:02 and we're going to get things started. Thank you so much everyone for joining the webinar. My name is Benny Fatkish. For those of you guys that haven't joined my previous webinars, I'm a business development consultant, QA consultant for the company Qualified. We actually do software testing, and today we're going to talk about a very important, exciting, and not very deep and technical topics called defects and bugs that are costing your customers. So um, today we're going to talk about testing is not a luxury anymore. It's not optional anymore. And how bugs or defects, if you guys are not tester or working in the IT industry, that's okay. I promise I'm not going to dive too deep into this topic, but we just want to talk about defects and bugs and how it's going to impacting, unfortunately, revenue, reputation, and customer trust for companies. In simple word, bugs and defects are things that you find in websites and application, and when something is not working as expected, they call it the defect or the bug. There are so many harms that can have to benefits. Now, we talk about all of these things. The most important thing, which is a highlight. Now, if you have a business, the main objective of a business is making money. We all know that. Right. Of course, other things are important, but the main and most important one, the catchiest one, is it's going to affect our pockets. Right. So if think about every incident about $100,000, wherever in the world you are, it doesn't matter how large your company is. This is a significant amount of money. When you think about it, one out of every three software releases is a critical bug. And what does it mean? It means it's not even a little itty bitty things that, well, we don't care about this for now. It's major thing. It's 33% of softwares out there, including big companies like Microsoft, Apple, and Cisco. They will actually have that. So it's an important thing, and we're gonna talk about this. It's leading us to like, why as a decision maker you should care. Like, think about it. You're a manager, you're a product owner, you're a program manager. What is it? Well, number one, we already discussed. Lost revenue, which is going to affect your profit margin. The second and third one is some people that getting some entities and enterprises getting to a level that they don't care that much about it. There are two things. Brand reputation. When customer is not happy, it's going to affect your brand. And the last one is compliance and legal risk. So when it comes to later, I'm going to discuss a little bit about accessibility and security testing. Those are the things that depends on where you're at, what country you're living, what state you're living. It can cause actually major risk. It will bring up the chances of lawsuit against your company. So you don't want to have that one. Bring us to common causes of defects, right? So I've been working as a QA tester basically all my career life. As an automation lead, as a QA tester, as a QA lead, QA consultant. And I've seen these things. Number one is rushed release. Now, application have releases. Any updates that will have the release every 2 months, every 3 months, sometimes every 2 weeks. If you rush into it and you don't give chance to testers to properly test that application, it's gonna maybe once, twice, 3 times you will get away with it. But at some point, you got to have a defect. Lack of proper QA process. Now, there is a process for software testing. It's not just one tester test it and push the button pass. We got to have smoke testing. We got to have regression testing. We got to have our API and API automation testing, security testing. And all of that happens in a time interval. And if we don't have a right process for it, and we have one single person that just main functionality, we will see issues down the road. A human error in coding. Number 3, our developers going to make mistakes. Even if they're amazing developers, they're going to make mistakes. And those mistakes not just affecting that part of the application, it could affect anywhere in the application. So you need a tester not to just test that particular part of the code and functionality. You want to test it to understand how it can affect other parts. And the last one is, which we see a lot in government, legacy system integration. So they're still working with legacy system, and anywhere that it integrate with modern system, it will create some issues. and down the road it will cause to find defect in production. Now, we talked a little bit how it's going to affect us, but the real world consequence, and if you're on the call and if you're interested, you can put it in the chat box. I'm very interested to see that. Give me a scenario that you've experienced. An application is not working, a cyber attack, especially cyber attack, or something that affected you, that the application or software wasn't working the way it was supposed to. I'm going to start with myself. My university, I graduated from University of Maryland. They actually had a cyber breach that affected 10 or 15 years of alumni, students, and staff. And my mortgage company, 3 years ago, they actually sent an email that was a cyber breach because they didn't have proper security testing, and that caused them actually major damage to the reputation, and all of our data was actually breached. And so those names is going to be in a customer's head. So the trust is going to be broken at that point. Sometimes you don't have a choice, but if you have a choice to get out of doing business with those entities, you would do that. Healthcare, financial, education is on top of the list. Now, retail. Think about, we do have Black Friday here or Cyber Monday here when there's major sales around Christmas time. You don't want your customer experience a slow system because you are losing a lot of money, a lot of time and energy to fix that. And last but not least, app cash and the reward that you get. So a lot of times the small businesses that think that they don't need testing, those reviews, because their website is not working the way it should, it will affect them for little or low reviews, and it's going to affect them in long term. So you don't want to be in that list. So we actually talked about this, not optional, but mandatory. Like it used to be maybe 2001, 2002, early 2000, people think that they're saving money. And that is true. Like if you have one tester instead of 5 testers, you're saving a lot of money. Think about how much salary, the space, and insurance, all of that you want to provide. Why would you have 5 testers to save a lot of money? However, there is a hidden cost, and I repeat that, as a hidden cost in not having enough testers, because down the road, you will have more and more and more issues and defects, and you're going to come back and fix it. And fixing those issues in production when your customer feedback tells you it's going to cost you not a lot of money, a lot of reputation. And they actually did a research that it costs you 5 to 10 times more to later discover that and fixing that. So why not actually from beginning invest in proper testing or a third party to do your testing so you don't actually have to deal with that. Now, I promise that I'm not going to dive deep. This is a generic webinar. We just want to talk about defects and why testing is important. But I want to talk a little bit about types of software testing. So we do have now. I get this. This is only for a lot of people might say, why don't you put API testing? Why don't you put like I don't know accessible? This is like the main type of testing. So we're not going to cover everything. These are, in my opinion, the testing you need to have in order to have a solid website and you can release with confidence. Number 1 is functional testing, arguably the most important one. Some people say security testing. I'm going to put number 1. It's gonna your software needs to function as expected. Period. This is the simplest way to put it. Security testing. That's going to, in my opinion, comes in number 2. Even though I put it in bottom corner, it is number 2. I'm sorry I didn't order it right, but I'm going to read it in order of importance. Security testing. If your application is functioning as expected, but it's not safe, it's no good because it's going to affect you at some point. Maybe it doesn't affect you in 6 months or a year or 2 years, but if you're a business that you got to be persistent, it's got at some point, it will come back to you. Number 3 is performance testing. Now, some of you guys are not testers or in IT world. Performance testing is basically making sure if you have a load of clients that logging in and trying to use your website can perform as expected. And in simple language, when you go to a website and you click and something is loading for 3 minutes instead of 3 seconds, that means they have performance issue and they don't have proper performance testing. Usability testing. Your user is going to be happy. Let's say you have all the testing, everything is good, but it's very difficult to find an option. Or people with disability cannot use that. You're going to lose client. You're not going to have lawsuit. They're not going to have problem performance. Their data is safe, but they're not enjoying that experience. I know it's not important, but in long term, you want your client to be satisfied when they're actually using your website or your digital product. So that would be the last one, usability. Talking about AI. So again, this is probably not in the scope of testing and bugs and defects, but you cannot these days talk about anything without bringing AI, right? Now, I'm going to talk positive about AI. Assuming a lot of people have problem with that. They say it's going to steal our jobs. We're not going to have anything good in the next decade or two. I'm a big fan of AI. I use Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT every day. It doesn't do the work for me. It's a great assistant. It's a great help. It's a great tool, right? And I'm pretty sure everybody uses that for daily life. You do everything with ChatGPT. There is nothing wrong with it. Now, in the testing world, also AI can be a great assistant. Now, we have a webinar which is on YouTube for qualified. My colleague Natalia had it in Spanish. I have it in English. She's a lot more professional. She's a lot deeper knowledge about AI than I am. But we have actually developed a tool in Qualified that help tester to make their testing effort a lot smoother, a lot more efficient. For example, if I have to create a test plan all by myself by reading an FRD document, which is going to take me 3-4 days, the initial process is going to only take me about 20 minutes. Voila. So a lot of other things that we can use AI to finding and catching defects more efficiently. Even if you have proper testing in place, even if you have a good number of testers, experienced number of testers, they're still gonna make mistakes because they are human beings. So AI is actually close that gap to make sure that you will never ever gonna have any issues if you use that tool properly. So where are we here? Okay. So we're going to talk about the return on investment. Like we talked a little bit about it. Definitely, think about that $1 spent in QA, $5 to $10. We already mentioned that, but it's worth mentioning again that if a project that you're spending already, let's say $1 million, and you're thinking about $100,000 extra, if you spend that $100,000 maybe in one more tester and one tool, a proper tool, or a company that actually occasionally come and test your releases, that $100,000 is going to equate to think about it, 500,000, $500,000 to $1 million later. That is an eye-opening number, which I have a separate slide for a lot of people that think they're saving money, which is not saving money. It's basically you earning money if you think about that extra money that you spend on proper software testing. Now, I think I talked a little bit about misconception, but it's worth talking a little more that a lot of managers are testing slowing down the release. I can say numerous times I had to sit down with a manager, with a release manager, with a product owner and explain, we need more time for testing. This is not enough for this project. And I had to explain and sit down. And some of them are not very visible. Why are you spending this much money? Why are you spending this much energy and time? Because down the road, it's going to help us. It's only for large companies. Sometimes we hear that. It's only for Amazon and Google and Cisco and I don't know, like bigger brand like McDonald's, they got a website. If they have Starbucks got a website. No, even smaller companies, even companies that are like less than 50 people, they have a website that you got to do a transaction. It has some functionality. You ordering something. If your order doesn't go through, it's done. That's done for your business. You gotta have bad review and people not gonna come back. An automation AI replaces human testers. We don't want this. We wanna keep our job. And this is more on the government side because, which I understand they're gonna be protective of people's job, which is great, but we still don't have a great grasp that AI. Now I don't know what's gonna happen down the road, right? We're not gonna discuss that, but right now as we speaking, proper use of AI is gonna be an amazing tool. And that's why we created and qualified that tool for tester to be able to help and increase the efficiency of their testing. So what happens when you find a defect? Talked a little bit about this, but I think this graph, it shows us properly that when bug appears or when there's a defect, let's say you go to a website and you want to attach your document. And that is the main functionality, and you cannot attach your document. Think about what's going to happen. Customer affected. What does that mean? I'm upset. I'm mad. I've been trying this for like 5 minutes. It's Monday. I don't feel like dealing with this. I'm going to put a bad review or call the customer service or not going to deal with them anymore. I'll go to their competitors. What happens when me and 100 people or 1,000 more people have the same experience? Revenue goes down. PR impacts. You don't want a small business might not have that, but if you have 2 or 3 stars, a Google review, that's basically the PR impact. Last but not least for business, what's the worst thing? Revenue. That comes down. Very simple thing. You cannot attach a document. When you start at the beginning attaching a document, not a big deal. We can fix that. But when you think about down the road, it's going to cost you thousands, maybe millions of dollars. You're like, I should have fixed that with a lot less money, right? So what are we going to do about this? Now, a lot of companies that are doing this, we are qualified with doing software testing. And we only do software testing, nothing else. Things that we recommend you should do. We integrate automated and manual QA, right? You got to have a manual process for functional testing. And you got to down the road invest in good automation because you don't want to have 5, 6 testers all the time. You can reduce the number. Number 2, include AI assistant testing. So we covered that. And a lot of misconception is basically that's automation. We already have that. That is not automation. Large language model is not exactly automation. Automation, you created it, and it's going to stay the same. Repeatedly, it's going to execute the same test cases. AIs keep feeding information from you, and you keep feeding AI with information, and it's going to use that, and it's going to get more and more powerful. Your automation script is not going to get more and more powerful. AI does. And we now provide and qualify our customers with AI assistant tool and software testing, which personally I use that as a tester. Regular performance security check. We talk about slow application is gonna affect your revenue, and a lot of people experience cyber breach, including myself. Continuous testing for update. Some of the companies still think that they've done testing last year, it should be enough. Continuous testing is important. It's not an event. It's something that's going on and on. As you have more releases, as you're upgrading, as you're updating, you need testing. So I'm going to have a little summary for those of people that joined later or maybe actually didn't capture some of the slides. We talk about how bugs are affecting your company, revenue, reputation. Early and proactive QA saves you dollars. We talked about automation AI tool and how you can safeguard your software now. And this is exclusively what we do at Qualify. We help you with functional and automation testing, security and accessibility. And now we proudly have our AI tool that can help you make this a lot more efficient than it was before. We can wrap this up here. Of course, if there's not any question, you have our email, info@qualified.com. And you can check our website, qualified.com, and contact us if you have any question. And we would love to answer those. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.